Welcome back to Reynolds Runabouts, everybody. I'm Jeffrey Reynolds, and today I'm starting a new project. It's going to be a short one, but it's worth it. I'm working on a 28-foot Alerion Sailboat, kind of a family cruiser racer, and I've been hired to do all the teak. And the teak has been sealed and varnished for as long as the owner knows, and it looks pretty good. So what I'm doing basically is a maintenance approach to this. There's a few breakthroughs historically, like maybe it got dented and then the varnish cracked, and then it went ahead and kind of opened it up and got a little dark underneath. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and just sand down the whole boat, the teak, with 120 grit. And then I'm going to have the owner look at it and see whether he wants to just do maintenance coats or take it all the way down to the bare wood of the teak, which could take a lot more effort. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up. I have half of it done. It took me about 4 hours to do half of the boat. I'm looking like an 8-hour day to do the whole boat, including the cabin area where the slide down cabin entrance goes. That's also teak. So I'm going to keep working on this, and then I'm going to come back and show you what it looks like after it's been abraded with the 120 grit, and then we'll start putting on some varnish. So here's some classic problems with varnish on teak or mahogany, whatever. On a sailboat, there's a lot of abuse can be taken, but you're going to crack the varnish. So here you see this is an area that was once dry, and then it was an overcoat, and it didn't really stick. So, and that's because if you see, it's shiny under there. You have to have that abraded with sandpaper or it won't stick. It's like paint. Varnish is just basically paint without pigment. And so the same concept. Or there was something under there, grease, but I'm assuming it's just shiny varnish that never got taken off. Here's some more, just areas. This is an area where you're either getting on the boat or some of the sheets of the sail might have just been abrading this. Here's a really bad one. This is an area where the varnish is completely popped off. And so this is the teak right here. And I'm going to kind of dish this out so it's got a soft edge on it. And then this will have to get some spot varnishing just to build it back up. Or you take it all the way back down, which is not probably what I want to do. So I'll sand it down into a bowl or a crater and then just build it back up. There's some other old areas that, same thing. This is what happened the last time that I'm going to handle here. Same thing. Just got to get a better, softer edge on that. And they didn't build it up enough. Maybe put a couple maintenance coats on and call it good. But for some people that's enough. They're just trying to protect the wood, and they don't make teak available really easy in the world anymore, so it's important to take care of it. So I'm just going to keep working on it. There's another area. Here's a real dry spot. Varnish is completely gone. Again, this is where lines, feet, people are abrading it all the time. So it's a good time to get this maintenance coat on or take it down. We'll see what the owner wants to do, but I'm going to get back to work. So here you can see that I've taken some semi-transparent stain, and these were the areas that had been too damaged. So I went ahead and blended it in, and now I'm ready to put on the sealer. And what I'm going to do is put the sealer on the whole piece of lumber. I'm not going to differentiate between new stain and old varnish that's been sanded. I need to get a true um, coat that is consistent through the whole piece so that the varnish, regardless of what brand I use, I'm going to use Epiphanes, will have a consistent binder that it can um, adhere to. So I'm really glad that the bison brown stain was really close to what the majority of the wood had either aged to or um, was there originally. So now I'm going to tip it. I have to go in here and do a little detailing. Make sure everything has got a coat of the sealer. And then I'm going to go back and wet tip it or tip it with the brush. I find tipping varnish with a brush is so much easier. I don't know why. I just never get a consistent look with a foam brush. And well, I do with paint. I don't get it with varnish. And I think the varnish does such a great job, especially, this is sealer, but when I do varnish like Epiphanes, it has such a great flow out that I don't really need a foam brush to get that smooth look. It just seems to do it on its own. I'm just gonna, I like to use a wider brush, but not too wide. And then again, that's sealer, and that'll dry pretty quick, and then I can get on to varnish. Yeah, I love how that just blends right in. I was unsure, did a little testing, wet varnish and wet sealer with both, and the combination looked like it was going to work, so I went for it. I finished doing a light sanding on the second coat of Pettit's stain sealer, put it on over the stain to keep it stable, and I was able to, there's enough solvent in that it interacts with the stain that I could pull it a little bit, and it allowed me to pull some of the stain into the surrounding areas that weren't damaged, and it helps blend it the best I could. And then now with the second coat of sealer sanded off, I use 220. Anything less would have been a little not enough grip, or not enough hairs to grab onto the varnish, that is. So, and really it's all I needed. I didn't need to put any more grit into that sealer. It's thin and it seals stain in, but it's not a protective coat per se. So what I'm going to do now is follow the Pettit family, and I'm going to go ahead and use the Pettit's flagship high build varnish. I've used this quite a bit and like it. It really gets you closer to the end of your finish line when you varnish. It fills in really well. I thought about using Epiphanes, but you have to mix that in a two-part, and I'm not comfortable in having enough or knowing how much I'm going to need. I'll be able to tell after this. So sometime in the future, if I ever wanted to do Epiphanes two-part varnish, I would have an idea how many ounces I need to mix. With this, I open the can and I close the can and I'm done. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Probably do 3 coats of the high build, and then Pettit also makes a clear finish of varnish that really goes on really smooth, and it provides extra UV protection and gives you an even more shiny non-amber finish. So this will, I think, will help to blend some of the wood damage and staining I've done. It'll help kind of put the amber tone into it and kind of give it a mellower look throughout the repairs. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I went ahead and vacuumed after I sanded, and then I wiped it down with thinner. You want something that is compatible with, if you were going to thin varnish, you should use thinner. So what I do is I wipe it down not soaking, but it's got enough to pick up the dust. And then I went ahead and I'll hit it with a tack rag just before I come around my stroke. I'll have a tack rag in front of me to get anything last minute dust. So I'm going to get back up on the scaffold and start doing some varnishing. So now I'm ready to varnish the handrail. I've got a big brush here I'm going to be using for the combings and my roller, but with this, I really don't need a roller. It's just too much. And I'm just going to put it on like that, trying to keep a wet edge. So I start here. Get my stuff out of your way here. There we go. Just, you got to start somewhere. And I've got tape, so I know I'm going to have a nice seal to the deck here. And I'm just going to get it nice and wet. And then this will be my new wet edge. Coming this way. And then I'll just work my way along the deck very carefully. One thing about working on sailboats versus runabouts, there's a lot more height involved if I fall. So spend a little more time worrying about that. I'm just going to put it on, not too thick. Runs are the worst. You do not want runs. You spend time extra sanding, and you don't need to. It's going to flow out really well, and you don't need to be putting on a ton. And I don't even thin the first couple bunches. I usually, maybe at the end, I'll do the clear one with a little thinner, give it that glassy flow on. You can feel it just pulling very lightly. This is a little heavier, but it's high build. So I'm going to be just pulling my way this way and working my way on this rub rail here. And that's it. So off I go. Well, this is after the first coat of varnish. I will do a couple more, and then the spots that have, some dents, those will have to get an extra coat or two. But yeah, real happy with that. Now I'm going to let it dry for the night. Now that I have the varnish first coat on, it's time for me to sand it out. So I'm going to use 220, recommended by the Varnish Pettit high build. And it's going to be light. Not going to be a lot. Just trying to scuff it up enough to get, some of the dust that maybe got into it, some brush strokes, and put enough tooth on it so that the next coat 2, has something to grab onto. So I'm going to go ahead and get the boat all sanded out. Be another hour and a half, 2 hours of sanding on this boat, and then I'll let that sit overnight. I'll vacuum, and then I'll go and let it sit overnight. And then just before I go ahead and varnish in the morning, I have my dust rag with me to cover all the areas in front of me so they get all the dust. Because the more dust you can eliminate, the less sanding you got to do. So back to work. So I'm back. Put on the last of the high build varnish. I had some epiphanes, 2-part, which I was using to build some divots, and got all those divots for the most part filled. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting the high build back on, because I'm ready to do that. And there'll be a few, and I'll catch those every day. I'll work on those as well. But it's time to put on the final varnish and give you kind of an idea what this boat's going to look like in the end. I'll put this coat on and call the video done, because really it's just going to be several coats of, well, 2 more coats of high build and then a sand and a clear. There's really not much more I can show you. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on, finish this up, give you an idea of what it looks like in the end, and then I'll move on to another project in the next video. So like before, I'm going to use my, I'm just going to use a foam roller. I don't need to put a lot on. Foam rollers are good for when you don't have to put a lot of material on. The thicker nap is for putting paint into grooves and some grain. But with this, I'm just adding thin coats as I'm getting toward my, trying to build. So I'm just going to use a foam roller today, a foam brush. Just again, like the brush, I'm going to drag it up. When I get to this stage, I use the foam brushes. I get these at Ace. I find these to be some of the best ones I can buy. Some of the ones I get on Amazon and other places are they're cheap, and they'll break right here at the stick. And I've never had any trouble with the Ace hardware brand. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and finish up some of this and just keep doing what I've been doing, and put a couple more of these high build versions on by Pettit, and then I'll put a clear on, and we'll call this a boat done. So I'm going to get at it. So this is the end of the second coat of the high build. You can see it's really smoothing the dents and things that I had to fix. So what I'll do now is put a couple more just to make sure it's good. This had a lot of great varnish already on it. That's why I didn't strip it back. So that's what it looks like on the top side. Once I get the blue tape off, it'll really be sharp looking. So that'll be the end of this video. Thank you for tuning in, and if you're not a subscriber, please do so. It's always good to have more subscribers. I think I'm over the 900 mark now, which is nice. If you're enjoying the video series and would like to see more, hit the like button. It's always nice to receive positive feedback. The next video, I will be back working on the mystery boat, the 1960 U.S. molded shape home built. I'm getting to the point now where I've turned it over, and I'm putting in the last of the internal parts that will form the deck. And then the next step is put the deck on, varnish a lot, finish some painting on the top sides, and then put the chrome on for launch. So I'll see you soon.